Resource management is an essential part of project planning and project control. Today, I'm gonna walk you through the basic process of incorporating resources in Primavera. Make sure to stay tuned until the end of the video for a bonus tip that I'll be sharing with you. So, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Daryl and I make Primavera and Excel tutorial videos. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification icon so you won't miss out any of my new videos. So the first thing we need to do is to create resources for your project. If you missed my previous video on how to create project and baseline schedule in Primavera, you can watch it here. To get started, open first your project. Then go to Resources Workspace by clicking this icon. Next, click the Add button near the top right corner of the screen. If you will be asked to filter and display all resources, just click OK. Here, you'll see a window that asks for Resource ID and Resource Name. The Resource ID is the unique identifier of the resource. You can assign an ID for any resources so you can refer to them when needed. For the resource name, you can put any appropriate name that aligns to your project needs. After that, click Next. Here, you have to select the type of resource you are making. For our first resource, the appropriate resource type is labor. So I'll select labor. If we click Next, we still have more information that we can assign to the resource. Since we already have the basic information we need, I'm gonna skip for a moment and jump right into creating more resources. Let's try another one. This time I'll create a material resource. Click Add and put the appropriate ID and name. Then for the resource type, I'm gonna select material. For a material resource, you have the option to select the unit of measure. To do that, click this icon, select the appropriate unit of measure, then click Finish. After we completed the list of resources, our last step is to organize our resources. For this, we need to create 3 dummy resources, one on each resource type. Now, click Add. For resource ID, put L, and for resource name, type in labor. Click Next and select labor as resource type. When you're finished, create a new one for material. Type in the ID and the name. Then select material as resource type. Lastly, create one for non-labor resources. Type in the ID, name, and select non-labor for resource type. After we add 3 dummy resources, use these move arrows to organize your resources. So if I click the up button, the resources will move accordingly. If I had to change the hierarchy, I can click left or right until I have the right order. Alternatively, you may drag and drop the resources to their corresponding type or group. To do that, hover your mouse just before the resource icon. As soon as the cursor changes, you should be able to drag that resources and drop it on the appropriate order. Do this until you have the order you want to achieve. Now that we know how to create resources, it's time to add them on each activity. There are a few methods that we can do when assigning the resources to activities. First, we can assign resources to activities one by one. To do that, let's go back to Activities Workspace and click the activity where you want to assign the resource. We will be assigning resources to this activity through the Activity Details pane below. If you need to display the Activity Details pane, just click this button. On Activity Details pane, select the Resources tab. Then click Add Resource. Select the appropriate resource from the list you created earlier, then click Assign. From there, you can start selecting the next activity and assign an appropriate resource to them. Alternatively, if you have multiple activities that require similar set of resources, select those activities. Click this button to add resources. Then select the resources you want to add to the selected activities. Resource assignment can also be done in spreadsheet. First, let's export the template by going to File, then Export. Then select Spreadsheet for the export format. Next, select Activities, Resources, and Resource Assignment for the export type. Next, choose the project you want to export. Next, for the template, let's create new one by clicking Add. On this window, we have several options for the template. The settings here affects what columns you'll see in the spreadsheet. You can also filter the data you want to export. For now, you can leave everything here on the default configuration. Now click OK and click Next. Here, select a destination on your computer where you want to save the spreadsheet. After that, click Next, then Finish. Now, open the exported spreadsheet on your computer. Remember that earlier, we selected 3 export types on Primavera. You'll see those data here. Activities were labeled as tasks, resources were abbreviated to RSRC, and resource assignment was labeled as task RSRC. Now let's select the resource assignment sheet, the one labeled as task RSRC. Here, you'll see a table where you can assign resources to activities. We can also see here the first set of resources we assigned earlier on some activities. To assign resources, go to Activity Sheet, the one labeled as Task, and choose an activity. Copy its corresponding ID, then go back to Resource Assignment or Task RSRC Sheet and paste the ID to Activity ID column. Now, we're going to assign resources on this activity. We can find the list of resources on RSRC sheet. Here, choose what resources or what resource you want to assign and copy the resource ID. Now, go back to resource assignment sheet. By this time, you should be able to tell what sheet is the resource assignment. Again, the one labeled as task RSRC. Now, paste the resource ID to resource ID column. Remember that you can only assign 1 resources per row. To add more resources, refer again to RSRC sheet. This time, I'm gonna add this resource. So I'll copy the resource ID. Let's go back to resource assignment sheet, then paste the ID to resource ID column. Since we're assigning this resource on the same activity, we can copy the activity ID from the previous row and paste it here. Do this until you assign the resources you need to each activity. After you accomplish the template, you have to import it back to Primavera. Make sure the project is open, then go to File, Import. Select Spreadsheet for the import format, then select the spreadsheet file from your computer. Next, we select the import type. The available import type will depend on what information our spreadsheet has. This time, select only the resource assignment. Next, select the project where you want to import the data. Click Next, then select Finish. Here, you can check if you successfully assign the resources to the activity. Now, for the bonus tip, if you're having a hard time importing XCR files because it came from more recent version of Primavera, there's a way we can do to modify the current version of the XCR file. To do that, locate the XCR file and open it in Notepad. Look for the version and change it on the version that you currently have. Make sure to save it and try to importing it back to Primavera. If you want to follow this series of Primavera tutorial, check out this playlist. I'll be uploading more tutorials in this playlist in the coming weeks. If the video helped you, please consider liking the video. It will help me a lot on the YouTube algorithm. Thank you and see you on the next one.